Welcome to Talkin' Entertainment from Rip City with Brandon Laws and Dan Zeal. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and Stitcher, or you can follow us on Twitter at TE from Rip City. Enjoy the episode.
Hey everybody, it's Dan coming at you with another solo pod. Today I've got the Spiderman Far From Home spoiler casts for you. Depending on when you're listening to this, I know I kind of briefly talked about it last time I chatted with Brandon. So hopefully this comes out about approximately the same time that one does, so that you can kind of get an idea from both of them. Just kind of gonna go ahead and start with my overall spoiler-free review, and then I'll kind of get into some more details. So overall, I gave this a 5 eggplants. This is probably top 3 of all the Spider-Man movies that have come out. I'd probably include the 2 first Sam Raimi ones, Spider-Man 1 and 2, in that conversation. I don't really want to quantify which one's number 1, just because I think recency bias with this one would put this number 1, but I did think that highly of it. So definitely recommend going to see it if you get a chance. I know it's still in theater. It was number 2 last weekend and its second weekend. It does have Lion King coming out this weekend, so if you want to not go see Lion King and want to go see something else that's enjoyable, I definitely recommend it. So, okay, spoiler alert for those coming up. I'm going to go into a little bit more details of some of the things that I saw and enjoyed in the movie. So, first thing I want to start off with was that the opening scene in this movie was really impactful. Really got me. Definitely got a little emotional when watching it. So this is definitely the first movie that's post Avengers Endgame, and they kind of opened the movie with like a little memory of, and it was kind of like a little tribute video, and then you don't really understand until afterward that it's actually kind of an intro video from the high school that ends up being kind of funny to kind of take the heaviness of it off. But they also do a good job of kind of introducing the stakes and talking about some of the fallout and a lot of the questions that we had from Avengers Endgame. Basically, not all of the class was affected by the snap. They call the reintroduction of everybody coming back the blip. And so it was basically most of Peter's classmates that were affected, and you kind of see them come back. And so everybody that comes back restarts basically the whole school year. And so they do make some kind of jokes about how somebody that was 5 years younger is now 5 years older, and his character's name's Brad, and they kind of use it as a running joke the whole time. So it was kind of an interesting way to kind of talk about the 5-year gap that was right there, and they did a pretty good job about that. So Mysterio is kind of the big secondary character that's introduced in this movie. He's a big-time villain throughout the Marvel Universe and Spider-Man's back history. So it was kind of interesting in the previews what they introduced him as, kind of supposed to be the new Iron Man and the new hero. And that was kind of the theme of the entire movie, and he's really charismatic at the beginning part of the movie, and you really start to cheer for him. And then it's not too long after that you actually find out that he is true to the story, much like the Mysterio in the comic books, who was basically using special effects and things of the sort to kind of trick everybody, and they did a good job of introducing that and tying it in with them all being ex-Tony Stark employees. Kind of the reason why they're trying to do that, and then basically the idea is for them to become the next Avenger and blah blah blah. So I think the overall story arc of the villain wasn't anything fantastic, but I did think that Mysterio was a good villain, and it was enjoyable. This was a visually amazing looking movie. This is probably one of the best Spider-Man movies that we've seen. I know one of the criticisms I had of the Spider-Man Homecoming was that you didn't get to actually see a lot of Spider-Man action, and this one you did a ton, and it was just really well done, and some of the best special effects that I've seen in a Spider-Man movie in a long time. So really did a good job on that. So just a couple little things I wanted to talk about at the end. One of the things that I felt that I really enjoyed was throughout the whole movie, you kind of see Peter and MJ kind of going back and forth, and Peter wants to get with her this whole trip and has this big valiant plan, and then his plan ends up failing miserably, but then through some circumstance and MJ finding out he's Spider-Man and this and that, they end up getting together in the movie, and it was so enjoyable to watch that finally happen. So, and just this movie also had 2 post-credit scenes, so I definitely recommend sticking through if you are going to watch them. The first one was kind of more of a fun little thing. You actually find out that at the end of the movie that Mysterio records and actually tricks and doctors the tape to reveal who Spider-Man is, his secret identity. So I know that most of the characters in the MCU didn't have a secret identity, but Spider-Man's one is one that he kind of tried to fight to hold on to throughout most of the movie. So it was kind of a funny theme at the end. And then they did a good job with an Easter egg. They used the actor from the Sam Raimi ones as J. Jonah Jameson, and they introduced him at the end, kind of the way that they used him in the Spider-Man PlayStation 4 video game that was really good, as kind of like a viral sensation instead of running a newspaper, which is kind of more indicative of the times now than anything. So that was kind of a neat little thing, kind of fun to see where they go with that. And then the final tag, which was the best one, well, it had the big shocker. So going into it, they actually showed Maria Hill and Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury were actually, if you've seen Captain Marvel, Talos and his wife, so they were actually Skrulls the whole time, and then you find out that Nick Fury's actually been on a Skrull base out in space, so kind of interesting little tidbit there, kind of tipping their hat. So really interesting to see where everything goes. I'm really excited about that. We've got some announcements coming up soon to see kind of what the next Marvel movies are going to be. As of recording this today, that they did formally announce that Thor 4 is happening, and Taika Waititi is coming back. So pretty exciting news. With Comic-Con coming out this weekend, I'm sure we'll have a lot more to share. So hope you enjoyed this quick little snippet of my Spider-Man review. If you have any questions, please hit me up on Twitter. If not, definitely check out the movie, and hope you enjoy.